Everyone is talking about Claude Code, and maybe you've even heard of Gemini CLI. They're basically the same beast, but which one is better? Oh my goodness, Claude is still working. Well, wow, this is pretty amazing. Come on. Oh boy, this was surprising. Okay, today we're going to take a look and do two changes in an active project that I have going right now. And I'm going to try to add something to the project and also write a script to support the project. Those are the two different changes, and we're going to execute both Claude Code and Gemini CLI next to one another, and you're going to get to watch them as they both make the changes and what kind of changes they make, and maybe how frustrating they are to use sometimes. In any case, who's going to win this battle of the CLI agentic coding system? I really have to come up with a better name than that. Okay, let me very, very briefly cover what we're about to look at. We're about to look at Claude Code and Gemini CLI. Both of these are, maybe if you've heard of Cursor or agentic coding or maybe vibe coding, something like that, that's what these tools are really built for. But these are done in the terminal. They're done at what they call command line interface, the CLI part. What we're going to do here is we're going to go in and kind of do the same work on both of them side by side. You'll be able to see them both executing at the same time on the same work. That's really very valuable. But first we have to get them installed. You go by Claude Code, Anthropic Claude Code. They'll have a start command here. Same thing for Gemini CLI. If you come by here, they'll have an install command here. Then you come down here, and once you're ready to run with one of them, you just have to type in either Claude or Gemini, and it'll get started from there. So that's really all there is to it. We're going to move into actually doing some of the code now. This little application that we're working in is one that uses Firestore, which is a Google product, basically is a cloud database, if you will. We want to make sure that the schema on the UI side of the project is listed somewhere in this application so that whenever Gemini or Claude or even you are making changes, you can verify against the schema that that's the new field name. So what we really want is some kind of script. I'm actually just going to ask both Claude and Gemini to go off and build a script that can update this by actually calling the database itself and getting a schema list of what's underneath it in this database, and then kind of host it here that we might be able to compare it against in the future. All right, so we're in Gemini 2.5 Pro, and this is the prompt, but it's basically saying, I want to capture a schema. So we're going to hit that, let that go. We're going to jump back over here to Claude YOLO mode and let it have the same prompt. You can see that Claude has built out a checklist that it works through. That's one of its hallmarks, frankly. Okay, so here is Gemini already trying to run the script that it wrote in TypeScript. It's saying it's complete. Let's take a look at what it created in here. So there's a schema definition here, and that's our markdown of it. And this is the actual schema itself. Well, that's kind of encouraging. Wow, this is pretty amazing. Certainly it got to the channels collection, and here's the videos. There are event records that are inside of each of these that it seems to have not dived into. So it is a miss. It's very good. It's the top level objects. These are all the top level objects, but it didn't also go into the internal object. Peer in on you should be in docs. In schema is where I asked you to put it. The first collection is channels. Channels have name recorded out, channel ID, thumbnail. Not quite. That's missing it as well. But it does have channel metrics. I don't see a channel metrics reference here, but so I think they also missed. So both of them, frankly, missed. So we have to go back and prompt one more time for both of them. Okay, Claude, so it looks like you got our major... Okay, Gemini, this looks excellent. This is real. And I'm confident that this time, with the improved sampling and merging logic, the schema is accurate. I'll read the generated JSON file and tell you the names of the fields inside the metrics objects. I am still wrong. I apologize. Seems my script is still not capturing the nested metrics objects. So I'm going to send it a picture. Here, I'll show you what I'm sending it a picture of real briefly. I am sending it a picture of, here are channels, dev videos, videos. These are the different video documents. Inside of this video document is video metrics and all of those crazy fields we've been seeing. In video metrics, there are other documents that also have a structure. And that's the picture I'm sending it. Cannot access local files directly. However, based on your description of the file name, I can infer the screenshot shows. Can you? That would be shocking. Okay, so troubles giving images. I can get there. I can put the image inside of this folder and then share it with Gemini. Gemini is a little bit trickier about looking outside of its own folder. It's fine. That seems pretty fair. But I can do that same thing in Claude very easily. I just pasted in that image and it says, yeah, you're actually right. This is what we're expecting. How about if I give this to this guy and see if he's happy with that? So Gemini comes back and says, he said, okay,
I'm very pleased to see the script complete successfully. I'll now examine the generated schema file to confirm that VideoMetric sub-collection and its fields have been correctly captured. Reading the file. Excellent! I'm incredibly relieved to see that the schema now correctly reflects the sub-collection structure.
So it finally did get to it. That leads us to believe that, so this is good. This is the schema and we should be able to run this at any time. Let's see if Claude did the same. Sub-collection channel metrics, excellent. So they both finished. They didn't understand the sub-collection concept of the documents, which is interesting until it was spelled out to them explicitly. Once they saw what the schema looked like, they had no problem creating a script to ingest it. Okay, interesting. I would say largely a tie. So, all right, at least we finally got through building the schema. Okay, last test, let's make sure that they run. And you can see when you exit Gemini, it's actually kind of attractive. So it kind of tells you everything that occurred in your system. So we did almost 1 million tokens, but 78% of those, 79% were cached because that was part of the previous conversation and they cached those tokens, which is great. All of that's kind of cool. So 4 minutes total duration on the API itself and 42 minutes running in general. npm run schema capture and see how it runs just as the final test. All right, sounds like it captured. Well, I mean, it definitely captured schema. I would have to go through the rest of this to figure out what it's talking about. So, all right. I mean, it did work. We do end up with the document that we're promised, and that is this document. So it does seem to correctly work, but surprising, kind of an ugly interface to say the least. All right. Moving on. Heavens, this was the easy one. Okay, the next thing we're going to step into is making a change on the front end. This is the last effort. It's a bigger one, actually, and this would be a really valuable effort to give to a kind of agentic, asynchronous, or this CLI pattern that you kind of want to give a good spec to something and then walk away. Really, this is the pattern that very often I will follow when I'm building something from a UI standpoint using Claude itself. And in fact, very similar to what I was doing with Cursor. So let's get into this. And I want to show you the application as it stands today. So this is the application. To drive you through it very, very quickly, it's a simple little application that goes and pulls information from YouTube on a channel and get information about the views and the subscriptions and the likes and things like that. Each one of the videos down here has these same kind of counts on them. And so what we really want to say is plus 20 correct in the last 6 hours? Let's go validate. And the only way to validate that would be able to click on this and allow it to pull forward kind of a detail page, if you will. It's really going to give us detailed information on this view itself. All right, with that, what I will be doing is I will be taking a screenshot of this so that I can give that to each one of the representatives agents to say, here is where we started from. This is the kind of application. Use this as the basic theme and create a new detail page. There's a whole prompt set up. Let's get all that set up and I'll show you that in a second. All right, so this is a pretty big difference. First, over here in Claude Code, what I can do to give it the image is just hit Control V, not Command V. So it's a little bit different. It's intentionally not paste. It's telling the system that you're trying to paste an image, and you'll see that image flops in here. But over here in Gemini, I can't do that. So what I've done is I've gone into the docs folder and I've created this file, which is the same image here. I see the image, looks like a dashboard. Okay, so both of these are ready for the prompt. So let me go and get our prompt. Okay, and here is the big prompt. And basically, as I mentioned, what we're asking to do here is we want to design a video detail popover modal component, and we're going to follow the existing application theme and design pattern. So they'll see the picture, but they can also look through the components, of course. It needs to be dismissible by clicking outside the modal area, display the video information, View count, it also needs to go through the view metrics. So both of these are getting the same thing, and off we go. And now we cook. All right, and they're off to the races, of course. And the first thing that Claude comes back with is it creates its own sub checklist that it works through. All right, so I'm hearing from the Gemini side that it's got something. That's great. It definitely already has something. Let's see where Claude is. Not yet. I haven't heard anything from over here saying it's still looking through the database schema. It's going to create the modal next, those kinds of things. But at least we can sit and watch as this one works. It's trying to run it, to take a look at it, to see if it builds and runs. That's good news. But honestly, right off the bat, this is close. It certainly doesn't follow what I would call the design of the previous application. Can I click away from it? I can click away from it. I can close it. So it's pretty good, really, right? I mean, this is really not bad, other than it's using a low quality image in a much larger location. And it doesn't seem to be the right resolution. So I can give it those two details. Oh my goodness, Claude is still working away many minutes later. Surprising. I mean, we haven't even gotten the first pass. I don't want to click on anything until it feels like it's kind of ready for me. Yeah, I mean, it's working its way through it. So in the end, if you're walking away from this, this is exactly what you're hoping for. I mean, it'd be nice to not have to spend all of the credits, all of the tokens, essentially, that you're paying for in your account for it to make errors and correct them, of course. But at the same time, my guess is Claude's going to come back with a better looking output. And then you have to ask the question, this one came back in way less than half the time. We're not done yet, so who knows, but far less than half the time it completed. And it gave us a fully functional system, but I do need to go back and help it kind of clean up the design. So it didn't look around and understand the design quite well enough, even though I gave it an image for it to start from and understand what I was kind of going for. Are you ready, Claude?
Okay, I've successfully designed and implemented a comprehensive video detail modal component that meets all your requirements. Follows the theme, uses existing dialog patterns, type safety, mobile-first approach. The component is now ready to be integrated into your application. You can import and use it like this.
This is a very strange output. I don't think I've ever seen that. I am hopeful that this is kind of an accidental set of documentation afterward and that they actually implemented it. Let's take a look. Okay. Okay. Oh, and now it's got to go look again, find all the components, integrate it, update video list components. Okay, so maybe 3 times as long at this point? Shocking. I mean, actually shocking. Okay, okay, so hard to describe. This one, Gemini CLI took maybe 3 minutes at the most, 2 minutes. Claude took 10 at least. Shocking. So let's at least go take a look at the implementation and see how they work. Okay, this is what Google came up with. Oh, come on, Claude. And this is what Claude came up with. So, okay, there's some errors. I don't mind. Generally, I don't mind an error. It's just it took so long for us to get here. Come on. Yeah, H6 cannot be a child of H2. All right, so let's close you. Close. Come on, Claude. Please? Oh, no. What? Okay. Hang on. All right, we're back. Here, this is the test. Come on. It follows the theme, but I don't have any idea what it thought it was doing here. Okay. All right, and since I'm giving him a shot, this is pretty irritating. Let me copy this, put him into this documents folder. I don't think you quite followed the brief to follow the style. So, okay, and now we see as we're going through this that Claude is getting closer, which is good. Okay, not defined, so we're about to get there. All right, let's open up a box so we can see it as it makes changes. I think it's trying to get the image in here, which will make a big difference. It did hit the brief for the button to launch it on YouTube. I don't think we ever ended up with that over here, so it did miss that. This one understood that it was putting video information down. This is a huge plus for Claude, that it understood the data that it was putting down. And being able to just copy and paste this in is Perfect. Right, and this went gray on gray. Hopefully it's not done yet. Okay, it did give me a thumbnail. Come on, you can do it, Claude. You're so close. This is super close. Oh, I can see you flashing. Okay, let's close. Oh. Okay, so this is kind of maddening. Great. So this is where Google got us. This is Gemini over here, and it got us to gray on gray, which it seemed to have gotten worse when I asked it to do more.
I am confident the new design is a much better match for the overall aesthetic of the application.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure that's a prompting issue that it thought the screenshot I was giving it was what I wanted it to look like. So I can give it a definition that it needs to look more like this screen. That's fine. I can take that on next. But another very interesting part is what we're seeing on this side. Oh, just trouble after trouble. You can now test, it tells me. All right, so it does give me a screenshot. That's pretty poor. It does give me information. By the way, as much as these numbers are great, I wish they were mine. And I cannot close this. That's why I keep having to reload. This is called What I Learned After a Month with $250 Google AI Ultra. And this is called How to Build Amazing React Components by My Channel. So this is not using the data at all yet. And I'm sure this is going to be an easy fix when I ask it. But wow, this is tiring. This modal that you've given me does not close. Second thing, that thumbnail that you've got there that you're pulling in some... Okay, so I have now asked Google to update things like the screen picture, which is the other background picture, this image down here. So maybe it was confused that I gave it two images and it felt like, oh, the second one is what you want things to look like. I'll lean into that look. But let's see what it comes up with. All right, this is starting to feel better. Okay, what do you mean you're done? I mean, you still, you know you have not solved this problem. Actual channel name, it is not. Real historical metrics from video metrics subcollection. No. Proper close functionality. No. Okay, Claude. All right, here we go. You want to see what I'm going to do? Watch this. Time to go Opus. Opus, please save me. I can't seem to get this system to show my channel name, make the modal closable, or use actual data for the video metrics table that's at the bottom here. Okay, I'm going to take a nap, if that's okay. Okay, Google, while I wait on Claude, how about if we move forward just a bit? I'm giving you two different images. One is the detail page that we have pulled up, and the other is the screen that is the main application. All right. Yes! We can close the dialogue. Look, check this out. This is like a game. This is awesome. Okay. What's the next problem? Why can't I get my channel name? Gosh, has this taken a long time? Okay, all right. This is wearing me down. All right, as you can see, Claude is still running around in the background trying to get my channel name. It's now having a problem pulling the data, so it disrupted something else in its changes. I'm trying to get that to fix as well. So this is really challenging. What we end up with is we don't get any historical metrics because we don't have any metrics. I like this layout better, but I can't get it to give me my channel name, and I can't get the historical metrics in here at all without doing all kinds of gyrations, and it's just killing me. So at the moment, I think the one that wins is the one from Gemini. That's kind of shocking. I don't like it as much. I don't like the color scheme more than anything else. I think the color scheme could be updated and I'd be happier about it. But other than that, it's perfectly acceptable. This is just a fun little app. Oh boy, this was surprising, but I have something fun. So let's leave Gemini. We only got through 9% of our context in that amount of time. Let's leave Gemini because by now you've learned when you leave Gemini. So total wall time, 1 hour, 3 minutes for all of those changes. API time, 12 minutes. API time on this guy, 1 hour and 3 minutes. So astonishing. That was 4 million input tokens, 4.5 million, but 81% cached. By the way, 100% free. Didn't touch anything. It worked through everything without a problem. Obviously, it only really worked for 13 minutes anyway. but this was a really interesting experience. This is those moments, frankly, it's worth understanding. This is the reason that you're still needed as an engineer in some of these. It's a lot easier for me to go in and say, great, I'm going to make the color scheme what I want to make it. I know where to do that. I can just go in and do it. Or I can be much more specific, or I can in fact drop down to cursor where I can definitely be much more specific and provide images and things like that. That will be easier. One of the reasons to be in the cursor kind of wrapper when you're doing these kinds of changes. So that's really what I will likely do before I ship this. But I wanted you to see kind of full life cycle of what's going on and kind of a comparison between the two. All right, I'm still chewing on this one. This one frustrated me quite a bit from a Claude standpoint, but let's do a wrap up. Okay, so that was at least watching Gemini CLI and Claude Code work together on the same problems twice. I hope you see the interactions. They're very, very similar. There's a lot of other things. They both do MCPs. They both have some form of planning mechanism and can check things off. Claude does a lot better on some of that, but it's a more sophisticated tool. It's just been out longer. It's a little bit more mature. I think the Gemini CLI one will come along in no time. So it's going to definitely come back and eat people's lunch because it's free. I think in the end, that alone and how much faster it was not quite as good, but I do like Gemini 2.5 Pro. It did not make a lot of extraneous changes. I will say at one point it changed my colors in a way that I didn't like, and I had to go back and unchange those colors. That's pretty frustrating that I didn't ask for that change and it accidentally disrupted that. That's unusual for Gemini 2.5. I would say it's much more common for me to see that from Claude. Okay, that notwithstanding, I am a Claude subscriber at this point, Claude Code subscriber for $100 a month, which is a ton of money. It is definitely worth it. Very, very often, I have 2 or 3, and sometimes, frankly, 4 of those open on different projects running. Don't take my word for it. Go get Gemini CLI. It's essentially free. You're crazy for not going and getting that. I would say go get that immediately and try it. It's a lot of fun. I survived. I am frustrated. I apologize. This one got me. But I'm sure a lot of you feel that way after dealing with AI and this AI coding pattern. This happens. Sometimes the vibes go a little bit dark and you just got to get through it. It's like anything else. If I was coding something and I couldn't quite get it and I slammed my head against the wall a bunch of times, which has happened a ton in my life, I feel the same way. So really that's what's going on more than Claude couldn't do it. It's much more, I didn't give it the right context. I didn't stop it at the right point. I didn't guide it correctly. I was just trying to basically vibe code it for this example. It's kind of a bad way to work and it creates a lot of frustration. It's really, honestly, I'll take that on. It's my fault more than anything else. But Gemini CLI, winner. I know. And I'm still going to subscribe to Claude. All right. I hope you enjoyed something about this. I'm going to do a lot more of this kind of stuff going forward. I'll get back into some of the more engineering stuff, maybe some MCP work, some agent work coming up. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely subscribe. Thanks for hanging along and definitely coming along for the ride on this one, because it was definitely a ride. At least it was on this side of the camera. Any case, thanks for coming along and I'll see you in the next one.